Why haven't they responded to my message? Did I say something wrong? Maybe they're upset about something I did. I remember that joke last time, they hated it. Why do my back hurt? Is it a health issue or because of the workout? What should I wear? Damn, what was I thinking? I should have meditated this morning, no wonder I'm overthinking so much. I think many of us tend to overthink, and there are various reasons for it. In this video, I will explain how to address this in terms of practical solutions. Watch until the end, as it will be extremely valuable. Rumination, or excessive thinking, is the process of repeatedly and often irrationally dwelling on a situation. We frequently try to justify emotional irrationality with logical facts about the situation we're overthinking, perpetuating the cycle of excessive thoughts. When you overthink a situation, your entire focus is on that situation or thought process. You don't have time or energy to focus on other aspects of your life, whether it's a health issue or obsessing over something someone said. Other areas of your life are neglected simply because you're hyper-focused on what you're overthinking. Here's a quote about overthinking. Overthinking can be a way of trying to control a situation and feel more confident about what to do next. The brain tries to reduce anxiety by running through possible scenarios and trying to predict what will happen. Indeed, the brain wants to anticipate what's coming, and this is very common in Type A personalities, perfectionists, high achievers, and the like. If you're someone with high standards for yourself, you might start overthinking your actions. You may dwell on not following a morning routine that successful people supposedly do. Some overthinkers constantly need structure, always wanting to know what comes next, and hating uncertainties because they struggle with the unknown. This excess of thoughts begins to cloud your mind and bother you, and then you start living in this constant and perpetual overthinking mode. It's crucial to find ways to navigate around this, so that overthinking doesn't become a predominant force in our lives. When your brain is constantly racing at 100 miles per hour, enjoying life becomes challenging. Now I want to give examples of my overthinking in the past. By the way, for context, I'm quite tall. When I was younger, I always had this thought process that when I entered a room or met someone, I made people anxious because of my height. Yes, I genuinely believed that. Because of this, when I was younger, subconsciously, I avoided standing too straight. I didn't want to have a commanding presence because I was overthinking. I didn't want people to feel anxious, as if I were better than them or intimidating. In sports, it was a bit different. I'm competitive, so if you're intimidated, that's your problem. But in a social context, that's how it was. Eventually, I began to understand why I did this and corrected it. In college, I worked at a cell phone store selling devices. One day, a coworker approached me and said, "Dude, you walk in here like you own the place." For a moment, I wondered if he was uncomfortable with my confident posture, but I ended up laughing it off. However, I thought, wait, his interpretation of my confident entrance has nothing to do with me. It's all about him. Why do I care about his insecurities in seeing me extremely confident? That's something he needs to work on. My confidence in walking is triggering an insecurity in him, something he needs to address. When I started understanding this, I began to think where else in my life I was overthinking, especially regarding other people's opinions. Where else was I overthinking in terms of the actions I needed to take? Now, I'm not saying I never overthink, but I catch myself very quickly. 1, I understand a lot about the mind now. 2, well, meditation solves the problem. Speaking of solutions, let's get into them now. The first significant way to reduce overthinking is to start embracing the unknown. Earlier, I talked about Type A personalities, high achievers, those who set high standards for themselves. You need to be okay with the unknown because life is full of uncertainties, and many things can happen at any moment. Being okay with the unknown is starting to structure your day a little less, doing different, new things that challenge you. You'll start to get used to uncertainties and become a bit more comfortable with them. The next lesson is to decrease the need for outcomes. Be less dependent on results, which means being spiritually detached from things and situations, being spiritually detached from what you want. I know it's a contradiction because you want that result, want that to happen, but being okay with the possibility of it not happening and mentally preparing for it not to happen is all right. In fact, often when we want to achieve a certain level in our lives, being detached from it to the extent that it doesn't consume us all the time is essential. Next, learn to love failures and mistakes. Failures can teach us a lot about things. I'm sure there are things you failed at in the past that you're now happy you failed because it literally made you who you are today. Failure is character building, and building character is everything. If you look at society today, people don't grow because they don't fail enough, right? They don't go through enough hardships to build some resolution and character. So because of that, they're stagnant. But when you embrace failure, you start developing like crazy. I wouldn't have this YouTube channel if I hadn't embraced failure. I wouldn't have my business if I hadn't embraced failure. Additionally, failure builds your humility and manages your ego. If you're truly advancing in life, you want things to keep you grounded. When you're achieving great things, but still have your feet on the ground, that's the perfect recipe. Moreover, failure makes you love success even more. When we have one thing and its opposite, the opposite makes us appreciate the thing more because we've experienced the opposite. If you told me 5 years ago to sit down and create a channel about philosophy, wisdom, and personal development, I would literally say give me a month to prepare. Now it's like second nature because I've had so many repetitions in it, right? I've had videos I simply didn't like and didn't publish, and others I thought were incredible. I've learned so much along the way because I've been okay with failure. Have I overthought some videos? Yes, I have. But ultimately it's something I think less about now because I'm okay with the idea of failing at things. The next thing is to identify your triggers. You might say, oh yes, I overthink because of stress and anxiety. My next question would be, how ego-related is this? How is overthinking helping you stay within your ego, this identity you've created for yourself, right? For example, a parent might overthink being late to their child's basketball game. He's overthinking it, but it's just a delay to a basketball game. But for him, he hates the idea of being late to the basketball game because his ego says he's an amazing parent, always there for his kids. That's his ego identity. So when he's late, he feels bad and keeps dwelling on it. Another example is someone overthinking about a baseball game they're about to play. They don't want to make a mistake. They're overthinking, oh, I don't want to mess up. They go in fearful because they have this identity of being a good athlete, being perfect, never making mistakes. They come in fearful because they're holding on to that identity too much and resisting the other side, the duality, the fact that they can just have a bad game that night. But it's ironic, because if they're okay with the idea of having a bad game counterintuitively, they'll probably have a better game. If they're not resisting, if they're not too much in their heads, just flowing, just playing, you have to identify how much your overthinking is related to the ego. If you have the identity, I am a high achiever, and you're overthinking about taking a break, maybe it's because you have this idea of being a high achiever, but that's just an identity. High achievers still need moments of rest, moments of relaxation. In fact, forget the high achiever identity. I achieve a lot in things, but I'm not a high achiever. Next, reframe the overthinking. Reframing is just looking at things from a different perspective. A perfect phrase I've coined for this is to say, I'm doing this because, as in, I'm doing this because X, Y, and Z. For example, I'm doing this because I see myself as a high achiever, and it's a way to protect my ego. So you're reframing the overthinking. All these thoughts keep coming, and there's an emotion attached to them. But then you observe them without judgment and say, oh, I'm just doing this because I see myself as X, Y, and Z. No matter what identity you assume, life has nuances. That means 100% of the time you won't always be in that identity. For example, someone who is a CEO of a company is a CEO when they're working. Outside of work, they're in traffic. They have to go to the doctor sometimes, have to take care of themselves, maybe take care of the family. Perhaps a leak in the house breaks and they have to fix it. They have things outside the identity of being a CEO. But we assume these identities as if they were facts, as if they were the end-all. I am a CEO. I'm just this person. You do different things in life. You don't carry that identity everywhere. Someone who is a master in the field of sociology, let's say, that person trying to learn karate is not a karate master. They enter karate as beginners, as a new person, learning as a student. They are masters in sociology, but in karate they are learning. It's a different feeling. So life has nuances, there are different things happening. And when we overthink, it's because we are attached to an identity that we need to let go. Maybe there are certain domains of life where you are not the best, and that's okay. Next, engage in the meditation of feeling. I call it the feeling meditation. I didn't invent it. I'm sure many people do it, but I like to call it that. This happens when you feel the emotional effect of overthinking. Often we think of something and add an emotional charge, making it more real for us. That's how the mind and body work. When a thought has an emotional charge, it becomes more serious, and the body takes it more seriously. But when we meditate, we close our eyes and just observe how we are feeling, watching the thoughts, feeling them without judgment. We're not judging ourselves, just feeling and observing. Ironically, this begins to slow down. When you do this, it starts to slow down, to calm down. The mind becomes serene. I recommend guided meditation. Binaural beats are amazing. Find them on YouTube. I recommend alpha binaural beats because when you are overthinking, your brainwaves are too fast. In neuroscience, they call this beta brainwave pattern, which is very fast, used for processing things, having conversations, doing things, taking actions of some kind. But then there are alpha brainwaves, which are a bit slower. In alpha, we are typically in meditative states, very calm and so on. There is less of that fast thinking, and it's more serene and calm. In fact, in alpha, you are able to see things more logically because there is less noise in your mind. I highly recommend the feeling meditation because it really slows down your brainwaves to be more permissive. Next, relax about the catastrophe. The truth is, it probably won't happen. The worst-case scenario you're thinking of probably won't happen. I'm sure a month ago you could recall something you thought would happen, and it didn't. It's likely the case now. Now, the next scenario is that it actually happens. You know what will happen when the thing you're overthinking actually happens. It probably won't be as bad as you think. And if it's as bad as you think, you'll adjust, adapt to it. It will become a new norm. For example, if someone thinks they have some kind of muscle injury and is overthinking it, goes to the hospital and finds out they've torn something that's bad. That feeling is there. That anxiety is there. Now, the worst scenario they thought of happened, but what happens next? They feel bad for maybe an hour, maybe 2, maybe 3 hours, maybe 4, maybe 5, maybe a day, maybe 2 days. But what begins to happen is that it becomes normal. Now it's the new reality. It's like, okay, I have this torn muscle, maybe I need surgery, maybe I don't, maybe I just need to rest, maybe the doctor said I should sit. Well, if your doctor tells you to put ice on the torn muscle, maybe that's not the doctor you want anyway. But the point is, it becomes a new reality. It happened, and now you're used to it, and things can get better from there. That's how you should think, even if the worst-case scenario happens, which probably won't. But let's say it does, things will get better. And that's the faith you need to have in certain situations. Trust in yourself in terms of your ability to recover, to process things. If you are someone religiously inclined or something like that, and feel you have faith in a higher power, or maybe you are spiritually inclined and have faith in the universe, trust that. So this is very important when it comes to worst-case scenarios. They are rare to happen, but when they do, you can understand that things will improve. A lot of this is a mental game, and a big thing with overthinking is that we have to be careful not to overthink ourselves overthinking. This is like a meta perspective. Often we can overthink that we are overthinking. Oh, I'm overthinking this. You can stop and say, I'm overthinking, okay, now I'm overthinking about overthinking. Just observe your mind and don't judge yourself for overthinking. Often we judge too much. That's another solution here, judge less. Judge yourself less in life, judge other people less. You'll be so much happier. Trust me, when you judge less, there are fewer neurotic emotional projections and thoughts that happen. When you judge less, many of our judgments lean towards the negative side. These are the powerful judgments that hit hard. Judgments about ourselves. I should have done this. Why am I like this? Why do I stop? Stop, stop, Stop the judgments. And this brings us back to awareness. You have to observe yourself, have to observe the words you say. Many of us don't pay attention to the words we use, as if words were just sequences of letters strung together, and we communicate that way. No, words have meaning, words have vibration, words affect. I heard this crazy thing about people talking to plants or something, and the plants die or something like that. I'm paraphrasing. But you get what I mean. People put certain words towards something and it directly affects that thing. So think about it. If words can affect non-human living things, you can believe they can affect humans. They can affect you. They can affect your psychology. They can affect your emotional circuitry. They can affect so many things about you. So this is very important. Next, communicate. Often we try to read people's minds and psychoanalyze them from a distance, thinking, oh, they probably do this because of that, and I think I did this because of that. Communicate. Ask the person why they are doing this. Ask what their thought process was. They will probably give you a lot of context. Communication gives us context, but trying to guess what someone is doing can lead to overthinking. So it's very important to communicate when we are unsure about something with the other person, if it's another person. Another cool thing is that you can communicate with yourself, and this is like self-inquiry. If you're overthinking, start from the back, talk to yourself. And yes, it's cool to talk to yourself out loud. You should do it. Start with what we talked about. I'm doing this because, right? You are communicating with yourself, maybe even writing in a journal. I'm overthinking now, and put all your thoughts on paper. Then you get rid of it. A part of you takes it off your chest. This is like the element of communication. It's not just communicating with other people when there's a situation where you're unsure with them. You're communicating with yourself. And now this brings like a self-integration that is just beautiful, because you're so tuned in with yourself. Know yourself so well that there's nothing anyone can really say about you that you don't already know. Finally, this is my favorite mantra. It doesn't matter. When you internalize that it doesn't matter, good things will happen. Like it doesn't matter. Whatever you're overthinking, it doesn't matter. Life is a play, and we're all just here experiencing it. Don't miss the chance to apply Stoic principles to deal with life's adversities. Grab the Stoic Mindset ebook now and discover how to cultivate serenity in the midst of chaos, make wiser decisions, and overcome adversity with mental strength. Click on the link in the first pinned comment and embark on your journey of wisdom.